The girl stood on the corner of a small, cracked street in Nashville, her hands trembling as they clutched the worn-out guitar case. The morning sun was still shy, painting the quiet town gold and gray, while the little girl's shadow stretched long and thin beside her. Her name was Ellie Mae Parker, 9 years old, with chestnut hair tangled by the wind and eyes too old for her age. Eyes that had already seen what most children shouldn't. The cardboard sign she'd made was shaky, written with a blue crayon and taped to the guitar case. For sale, Daddy's guitar. $100. People passed by. Some slowed down, frowned in sympathy, but kept walking. Others didn't even look. Ellie's lips quivered as she whispered to herself, "Please, someone. I just need $100. Her daddy used to call her Little Star. But since he passed, the stars didn't shine much anymore. He had been a local musician, never famous, never rich. But to Ellie, he was everything. He used to play his old Gibson guitar every night, singing her to sleep with soft songs about hope, love, and dreams. That guitar was his heart. And now, she was selling it, because her mama was sick, the kind of sick that made her cough all night, clutching her chest, too weak to work. The medicine from the pharmacy cost $97. Ellie had counted her coins. She had only $12. Selling the guitar felt like betraying her father, but she had no choice. Pause. Emotional beat CTA1, right after the hook. If this story touches your heart even a little, please take a second to like, comment, and subscribe to Be Kind TV. Every click helps us keep sharing real stories that remind the world that kindness still exists. Return to story. Ellie sat on the curb, hugging the guitar to her chest. She whispered to it softly, as if her father could still hear, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I promise I'll buy it back one day." Just then, an old black car pulled up to the cafe across the street. A man stepped out, dressed in black jeans, leather, boots, and a long coat. His gray hair was wild, and he wore round glasses that hid eyes full of both chaos and compassion. A quiet murmur rippled through the few people nearby. "Is that Ozzy Osbourne?" someone whispered. He was in town for a private recording session. But what caught his eye wasn't the cafe. It was the little girl sitting alone with a guitar almost bigger than her. He crossed the street slowly, curious. "Hey there, love," he said, his voice rough but kind. "What you got there?" Ellie looked up, nervous. "It's my daddy's guitar. I'm selling it." Ozzy raised an eyebrow. "Selling your dad's guitar? For what?" She hesitated. "My mom's sick. I need $100 for her medicine." For a moment, he said nothing. He just looked at her. This small, trembling kid with a heart bigger than the sky. Then he crouched down beside her and gently lifted the guitar case. When he opened it, the air seemed to change. Inside lay a well-loved Gibson, its wood scratched and faded, the strings slightly rusted, but still beautiful. Ozzy ran his fingers over the frets, then looked back at Ellie. "This guitar's got stories in it, love. I can feel it." Ellie nodded, whispering, "It was Daddy's favorite. He said it was magic. He used to say it had songs that could make angels cry." Ozzy smiled softly, the words hitting him deep. "That sounds like something I'd say." He looked at her sign again. $100. Then he pulled out his wallet. "Tell you what, kiddo. I'll give you $10,000 for it." Ellie's eyes widened. "10,000? She stammered, shaking her head. No, sir, it's just 100. Ozzy chuckled. "I know what you're asking, but I know what it's worth. Not just in money, in soul." Tears welled in her eyes. "But it's Daddy's guitar." He nodded. "Aye, and your daddy's spirit's still in it. That's why I'm not just buying it. I'm borrowing it. I want to play it just once. Then I'll bring it back to you, love. Deal?" Ellie wiped her tears and whispered, "Promise?" Ozzy raised his right hand. "On the rock and roll gods themselves." He took the guitar, signed her little notepad with his shaky signature, and told her to meet him at the Nashville Civic Center that night. "Bring your mom if she's well enough. I've got something special planned." The day stretched long and heavy. Ellie ran home, clutching the envelope with $10,000 like it was made of gold. When her mom, Martha, saw it, she nearly fainted. "Ellie, how did, Mama?" Ellie said between tears. "Ozzy Osbourne bought Daddy's guitar. But he said he'll give it back. He just wants to play it once." Martha sat down hard on the couch, hand over her heart. "Ozzy Osbourne? The Ozzy Osbourne? Yes, Mama. He told us to come tonight." That evening, despite her weakness, Martha dressed up. She wore the scarf her husband used to love, the one with tiny embroidered stars. Ellie helped her into a borrowed wheelchair from their neighbor. They took a bus to the Civic Center, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Inside, the lights dimmed. Thousands of people filled the arena, cheering as Ozzy took the stage. But this night felt different. There was no wild chaos, no pyrotechnics. Just him, sitting on a stool, under a single spotlight, holding a familiar old Gibson. He looked into the crowd and spoke into the microphone. "Tonight," he began, "I met a little girl who reminded me why music matters, why kindness matters." The crowd quieted. Ellie squeezed her mother's hand, eyes shining. "This guitar belonged to her late father. She was gonna sell it for $100 to buy medicine for her mom. I gave her the money, sure, but what I got in return," he smiled, his voice breaking slightly, "was a reminder of the kind of love that keeps the world turning." He strummed the first chord. The sound echoed through the hall. Warm, raw, aching, he began to sing, not a metal anthem, not a hit, but a simple, tender ballad. It was one her father had written years ago, the song he used to sing for Ellie, "My Little Star." Nobody knew how he found it. Nobody knew how he learned the words, but he did. As the lyrics filled the hall, Martha covered her mouth, sobbing. Ellie whispered, "That's Daddy's song." Ozzy's gravelly voice carried the melody, every note soaked in emotion. The audience fell silent. No screams, no cheers, just tears. When he finished, he stood, holding the guitar high. "This guitar belongs to Ellie Mae Parker," he announced, "and tonight it's coming home." The crowd erupted into applause. But what happened next silenced even the loudest hearts. Ozzy walked down from the stage, knelt beside Ellie, and handed her the guitar. "Keep playing, little star," he said. "Your dad's not gone, he's just changed stages." Ellie threw her arms around him, sobbing into his coat. And right there, in front of thousands, the Prince of Darkness himself, the man once known for wild chaos, cried too. The next morning, the story exploded online. Ozzy Osbourne Saves Little Girl's Family was trending across every platform. Donations poured in for Ellie and her mom. The pharmacy canceled their debt. A record label offered to sponsor Ellie's future music lessons. Weeks later, Ozzy sent her a package. Inside was a brand new guitar, custom-made, engraved with gold letters on the back, "For my little star, keep the music alive. Love, Ozzy." From that day on, Ellie played every night just like her father did, with heart, with hope, and with love. And when her mom's health improved, they started a small foundation for families struggling with medical bills. They named it the Little Star Project. CTA2, Before the Ending. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to Be Kind TV and share this video. Let's make sure stories of compassion like this reach every corner of the world, because one small act of kindness can change a life forever. Years later, Ellie performed live at the same Civic Center, a teenager now, confident and radiant. On stage, she held that same old Gibson, restored and shining under the lights. Before playing, she looked up at the sky and whispered, "This one's for you, Daddy. And for you, Ozzy." The first chord rang out, and somewhere beyond the lights, two old souls, one her father, one her friend, smiled down at her, proud beyond words. Because kindness, like music, never dies. It just finds new strings to play on.